What's up, guys? G85 here. I just got back from the mountains. I'm going to use up the rest of the fuel for that guy and that guy, and we're going to make some dinner tonight with what was left in the cooler. So we got to get some water boiling for us for the pasta. Then we'll move on to what I'm actually going to be cooking here, guys. So be back here in a little bit. Got to get the water boiling first. Alright, guys, I got my water boiling. I'm just going to salt her on up real quick. Give her a quick stir. We are boiling. So I'm going to dump some pasta in. This is some good quality rigatoni here. Yeah, it looks like enough. Yeah, dump it all in. I'm back at home anyway. So I'm going to bring this back up to a boil in a second, guys. And I'm going to transfer this over to the little baby backpack sternal, guys. Once it comes back up to boil, we're going to get the frying pan on in a second here, guys. So once this guy pops back up, I'm going to switch over. Alright, guys, I got some hot Italian sauces and some diced pancetta. We're going to get that in the pan and start sauteing that while that boils. That takes about 15 total minutes. We're going to get this rolling real quick here while that cooks. This should all be done by the time it cooks, but we're going to cook this with some veggies in a second too. So we're going to get this going here, guys. So let's get this in the pan. Alright, guys, I got the sausage and the pancetta browned up a little bit. I'm going to toss in some Swiss chard from the garden, some kale, and some habaneros. The pasta's boiling away, going. I'm not using a timer at all, even though I do have the ability to check the time. I'm not doing that. Little tri-fork there is for checking the pasta when it's almost done. And a little measuring cup and steel cup right there. I need some pasta water for a little bit to finish this guy off. So we're going to dump this stuff in here real quick, guys. And we're going to see if I can use the rest of the fuel here. I'm trying to just do that. That's all I'm really trying to do. Alright, guys, that sausage and veggie mix is pretty much done there. I got this little pasta drained here, a little bit overkill. I got some pasta water in there, so we're going to combine the pasta with that in that pasta water to finish off this pasta. You always cook your pasta a couple of minutes under the package instructions for al dente and cook it with what you're serving, be it a crumble mix like this or a sauce. Alright, guys, I'd say that is done. It's not my personal favorite pasta to do with this. Rigatoni was already open when I made pasta alla gricia up in the mountains, guys. That came out pretty good for being in the mountains. I did forget the cheese grater, but I had that at home. That's why I got it all nice and fine compared to when I was up there. I did finish the Sandsport fuel off. The Coleman still got a little bit of life left in it somehow. Used it all weekend long up there, multiple times for a lot of things, guys. But we're going to grub up on dinner, and when I'm done, let this stuff cool off. We'll talk about why I chose this frying pan. If you saw the short on the multiple sets of carbon steel I used, I chose this one for a reason. Talk about this fold out onlyfire and the firemaple pot that I was using, guys. So I'm gonna chow down and we'll talk about how this stuff worked over the weekend up there. What's up, guys? GM85 here. I just got done eating. I got a little bit of butane left in this same canister all weekend long. So pretty phenomenal on the use of this canister and the stove. The Sandsport is finally cashed out, nice and empty. Time to use the new one. This one I got for like 35 bucks about 4 or 5 years ago. Awesome. But before I left, I said I needed to make decisions on my cookware I was going to bring this year. I didn't take the Bellini for their case of long handles, 5-7 pounds for 2 pans. Didn't want to use the extra weight this year. I've taken them up there. I know they can handle the abuse and the extreme temperatures and everything. Same with the Lodge. I've taken the Lodge up there the most. I have the 3-piece set, the 12. This is in the kitchen, but I only wanted these 2 this year. Again, 5 to 7 pounds. Super durable, just like they're cast. Easy to store because of the handle. But I didn't take them either. And we took the Sardelles, minus this one here. These 2 pans are 5 pounds even right there, but I took just the one. This one fry pan that I used in that little cooking when I got home. About 2 pounds, a little over, like 2 1/4, something like that. And then the other thing I was using was this firemaple Bailey pot. This is the 1.8 pot, comes with a lid and a little steamer. It's a little small steamer. I didn't use this except to try to strain water, which is the only negative of this pot, because you just have a handle. So I didn't even have a leather glove up there with me like I did now. I had to use a flannel to try to pour and strain. So that's the only negative I can say about this pot right now, is trying to pour out of it is a little hard because there's no way to do it other than you gotta heat. It's only negative. Boils water very, very fast, quickly with the top on. And I'm talking water that came out of a cooler or was sitting out overnight, affected by fluctuating temperatures. The thing I used all weekend, since there was a ban on fire, besides the sand sport for making coffee, was this onlyfire folding camp stove, which I was using to make my dinner when I came home. And it folds out. Your canister goes right here and sits in here nice and tight. Everything folds up, and then it goes back together. Has a little bottom opening too, which is a little redundant considering it's a support for the stove. This thing worked really well. Same canister from today, all of Sunday, Friday, one canister. So it's super efficient, but what I can say that's a small negative is you got to be mindful of your cooking surface. Even though you're in the forest, you got to be mindful. Feet do get hot, very hot. And the temperature control is not ideal. So this is off, and then you go to here, you get a small range of control. So you got to be a little mindful of what you're doing. But I was able to effectively use this to make pasta alla gricia and boil the water for pasta, put the pasta in, and then make the meat base, which is for pasta alla gricia. All at the same time, switching between frying pan and the water once I was done with the pasta. This handled that fine. It also handled making pork agrodolce, which I'll put a photo up there, and that was a little over an hour runtime on a butane canister. So this thing handled very, very well. Cools down relatively quickly as well. So this was only 38 bucks on Amazon. So this is a nice little find here. Keeps the kit nice and efficient now. Takes up less space. So overall, guys, my trip was good. I went with smaller, lighter weight, guys. In the pack, it wasn't a huge dent in my weight, but it's a starting point. Next stop is sleeping bag and possibly a new tent. But this cookware that I use here was pretty much what I used all weekend. That billy pot, that frying pan, that little stovetop, and that little sand sport. That's what I used all weekend. I didn't get a chance to use the titanium folders because of the fire ban, and they enforce that very heavily, unfortunately, guys. But this is Jimmy 5, and I'll catch you guys later.